And welcome to the Self-Aware Entrepreneur Show. It's Thursday, and you're probably wondering, wait a minute, Lee, why is this 25 minutes late? I have to extend my apologies. I was caught up in some filming and ended up actually, being a little bit late on the live. And I know that the rules of the live: be consistently, make sure that you're here on time. Yeah, you have my apologies. I promise I won't do it again. But guess what? The beauty of it is I might be late, but I have an amazing guest for you. So, you're definitely not losing out. So I want to introduce you to Kate. And Kate is the co-founder of A Year of Dates. And, ultimately, she's not just the co-founder. She's been on an incredible journey, setting up a business that, really stands out in a lot of the noise and nonsense, is really, quite touching, has been generated from what started off as a very simple and nice idea, has turned into a business which has ultimately, shipped around the world and made a lot of people happy. And if there's anything that you want to say about being an entrepreneur and a business owner, if your product or service puts smiles on faces, then you're making a massive difference. And Kate has been on a journey. There's been plenty of challenges that she's faced, but they've overcome them. They've been innovative, and they've actually managed to find solutions and continue to expand even when times have been challenging. So what we're going to do today is dig into a story, find a bit more about that journey, and find out what's on the horizon. So Kate, thank you for joining me today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So Kate, can you tell us a little bit more about, a very basic summary of what Year of Dates does, if you had to package it into a jar, and then ultimately tell us how it's been the past 12 months running your business?
Yeah, of course. Well, typically I'm working from home today and I don't have a box to hand because that's the easiest way to explain what we do. But A Year of Dates is an online gifting business, which our main product is called A Year of Dates, and inside it is 52 sealed envelopes. And the idea being that you and your partner, or you gift it to another couple, open one each week. And inside is a date idea. It could be something really simple. It could be something you might not have thought of, something a bit different. And you make that time each week to do that activity, to spend that time together. You spend time planning it, and actually just spend a bit of time together, because it sounds simple, but it's something that people don't do when life gets busy and there's all these other things pulling you in different directions. On the back of that, we now have a whole range of other products: 50 things to do in your 50, through to 30 things to do in your 30, self-care, anniversaries, all with sealed envelopes and ideas inside. So it's sprung from one thing and has now grown arms and legs and all kinds of things.
Yeah, and there's something amazing to be said about actually creating a product which stimulates that mindful moment to choose to do something that's a bit spontaneous, a bit different. It really helps people to be a bit more open, because they're never always going to be a jar of things that you want to do or that you choose to do. But by actually picking something out, and there's a little bit of anticipation, excitement at what's coming up this week. And also it gives a real great structuring tool for actually having that time together, because we know what the world's like. It's fast paced, and especially if you're in a couple and you have children and, you're juggling jobs and a house and all these different roles that you put on. You so very rarely get to put your little romantic hat on and actually go out and have a proper date. I mean, after those initial first, few days, it suddenly just seems to just fall off the side of a cliff.
Yeah, exactly. You put all the effort into dating at the beginning, but then when you settle down, when you're married or you're living together, that's the time when you should be dating, really. But yeah, like you say, you kind of fall into maybe a bit of a routine of either working in the evenings, just coming home, watching TV. I mean, the amount of times that we in the past said, oh, should we do something tonight? And then it was 9 o'clock and we thought, oh, we could have done this, but it's too late to do it by then. So yeah. And I think having the ideas sealed in the envelopes helps too, because you're more likely to try it. If you just read through the pack saying, no, I don't want to do that, then you don't do it. Whereas, like you say, the anticipation of opening an envelope just makes you a little bit more inclined to give it a go and see if you do enjoy it or not.
Yeah, and it's really powerful psychologically, because you're effectively opening a present to go and do in the present. And we all know that given, what our lives are like, having that psychological separation to go and do that feels like it's a bit of a gift. But also it really kind of expands it out, because towards the end of a day, towards the end of a week, we've made so many decisions. It's very difficult to actually say, well, what do you want to do? And then we've got to come up with the options, and then we've got to make a decision. And we're playing it off against all these things. I'm too tired. Oh, what have I got to do at weekend? Oh, I've got to do this in the house. Oh man, I've got this work. And suddenly you end up in a place of paralysis and procrastination because you just
exactly. It's easily done, and we've all been there. So yeah, we just make that a little bit easier.
Yeah. But that's the beautiful thing, because can you tell us a little bit about how things were for you and John before John came up with this amazing idea that you've now turned into a flourishing business?
Well, yeah, things are fine. We've actually been married. It was our 8th wedding anniversary this week. So yeah, we were living together. We were married. We were both working. John was travelling a lot, so he wouldn't get home till late. I was commuting into Manchester every day, so there wasn't a lot of time for the dates, the fun. There was always jobs to be done around the house. We were getting to that point where all our friends were married, maybe starting to have families. So, although let's just nip out for a drink wasn't happening because people were starting to have other, we'd reached that age where you didn't just nip out for a drink on a Tuesday night anymore. We might have gone to the gym or something, but yeah, we weren't necessarily making the time for each other in any kind of realistic way with our laptops down or our phones down. So yeah, when he made me this jar for Christmas and presented it, it really changed things, because like you said, there's the excitement, the anticipation. I opened an envelope every Monday and we had that week to do it. I mean, at the time we had no children. It was just the two of us. We had the disposable income. John could come and meet me in Manchester after work and we could find a new restaurant we'd never eaten at or whatever the card suggested. And we spent time planning it, messaging each other saying, oh, should we try this? We could do that. And sometimes it happened during the week. Sometimes it was a weekend, a day out. It just gave us something to look forward to and to talk about, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, and it's a great communication tool as well, and it allows you to actually explore and almost be curious and play together. So I think there's something that's quite undersold about when you suddenly become responsible as a couple, that you lose all that childlike, excitement and exuberance of, oh, let's go and do this, and we could just do that tonight. And what it does, it really facilitates that, and that's something that I really love. But obviously, it was a lovely idea from John in the first place. I'm sure, when you actually received it, what was your first reaction?
I think it was probably along the lines of, oh no, whatever. We can't even remember what I'd bought him for Christmas, but it clearly wasn't gonna cut it. He's always been good at gifts, so there was probably a moment of, oh no, he's done it again. But we were with my family, and they were just all, any brownie points that he needed from my mum, that was sorted. So yeah, it was a lovely thing to receive. And actually, it was the time when people were starting to write blogs a lot, so I wanted to start blogging. So it kind of gave me a subject to blog about as well. And actually, the very first envelope we picked was buy each other a £10 gift, which on the back of being presented with a jar wasn't really ideal. Again, we can't remember what I bought with the £10, but John bought me the domain name ayearofdates.co.uk so I could use it as a blog. And that's kind of where it all started from, really. It made naming the business particularly easy, and that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah, and that's such a great story, and it's even better that the first envelope became the origin of what the business is today. I mean, you couldn't, if you put that to Emmerdale or EastEnders, they'd be like, nah, too unrealistic. But tell us a little bit about how that became and went from a blog and let's write about my journey exploring these things into that first initial business phase where you started to get products out and you started to get those reviews and you started to be like, actually, wow, people are really receptive of this. Well,
the other thing that happened not long after the jar had been given was that we found out that we were going to have a baby. So again, it was a very successful Christmas present, you might say. It's one of John's favourite sales lines, that one. So we soon found ourselves having a young baby. Again, the dates took a little bit of a turn. We couldn't always achieve all of them, but it also became quite clear to us quickly that commuting to Manchester every day while John was travelling with work wasn't going to work for us. And I wasn't going to return back to my previous role as an account manager. So I needed something else to be doing. my background is in graphic design and marketing, so I've always been quite creative and kind of was coming up with ideas for designing wedding stationery and that kind of things, but nothing was really kind of gelling. And then I was out with the other mums that I'd met on my maternity leave, and I think we were talking about something we were doing that weekend, and it was something out of the jar. And one of them said, "Oh, I wish I had the time and the ideas to do this myself. It would be a great idea." And it literally was a bit of a light bulb moment where I thought, well, I've got the ideas, I've got the time, so why not give it a go? And that was the June, July time, 2016. I started looking into the possibility of Christmas markets, craft fairs, that type of thing. I had visions of me selling this jar, kind of recreating it. I had links to printers through my previous role, so I was talking to them about getting cards printed. And it kind of, that's where it started. We then realised that if we were to post the jars out, there was the possibility that the glass could break, which wasn't great. So we looked at the idea of a box instead, and ordered 100 boxes just to see, with our logo on, to see what would happen. Around that time as well, Not on the High Street came to Manchester to do a pitch-up session where you could book in and go and present your business to them. And I don't think we hadn't sold anything. This was September now. I was still very much in the early days, and I went along, pitched the idea, and they accepted us to sell with them. And that just managed to get us out in front of people, because having maybe 15 followers on Instagram and a website that nobody knew about other than our family, you're not going to get sales. So this gave us a platform to get the box out there, and a ready-made audience who were looking for similar things. So those first 100 boxes we'd sold before Christmas, and we had to put in another order. And then they asked us if we'd go in their campaign for Valentine's Day. And I remember one of the questions was, how many orders can you fulfill in a day? And I said, 6 or 7, because that's what I was, that would have been quite a busy day for me at the time. And we had 76 in one day in the run up to Valentine's Day. And at the time, it was us sitting in the kitchen table, stuffing the envelopes ourselves. We had a production line, we had the in-laws, we had all our family sat at this table at 10 o'clock at night, stuffing envelopes. And it kind of, that was the moment where you thought, well, actually, this might have legs, this could work. And I've done one craft fair, and everything else has been online.
Isn't it amazing how, just being picked up by one, company who could propel you forward has, really shown you, whoa, okay, there's definitely demand for this here. And the gifting market is such an interesting place to go into. It's a challenging industry, no doubt, because there's a lot of people realizing that ultimately, gifting is there's big exchange there. There's big transactions. There's a number of events across the year where spending peaks massively, but there's so much competition to get in front of those eyes. And how is that kind of played out as you started to grow from 2017 through to 2019?
It's really, we were very reliant on Not on the High Street to start with, which is an awkward place to be, because we're really grateful to them, but they could easily turn around and say, oh, look, there's this new thing here, let's go and push that instead. So you were always aware that, so our focus was very much on kind of growing our own following, growing our own website. I had a part-time job and I quit that not long after, so I could get out and network. I've never run a business before, so I was going on courses, learning about all the other sides that you have to do as a small business owner. And you literally are responsible for everything. And then in 2019, we got to the point where John quit his job as well to be able to come and help. But it was a lot of kind of brand building, marketing, getting our name out there, trying to get boxes in front of people who might then talk about it. We were really lucky with Not on the High Street. They pushed us a lot into a lot of different categories. We also brought out new products because we realised that the date box was great for Christmas and Valentine's Day, weddings as well, wedding and gifts and anniversaries. But in between, it's quite slow. So we brought out the birthday boxes to kind of plug that gap throughout the year. And then we've got the self-care and all these other kind of spin-offs as well that have come along. So the next couple of years was about building new products, adding to the range. Kind of in a lot of our product ideas come from customers who'd say, oh, I really want to give my best friend something, she's going through a tough time. So then Dates with Your Best Mate was launched, and I'd say, oh, well, we've got these ideas, we could change them a bit, and now we can do that. And John's big thing that he brought when he joined was to personalise the boxes. So that was something he was really keen to do, and something that Not on the High Street is very big on. So we now can personalise all the boxes that we produce with your name on it, a little message, the date of a wedding or the date of an anniversary. We get some brilliant ones come through where, it's like, put your phone down, let's have fun kind of messages, little reminders. And it just makes it that little bit extra special as well, and that little bit more thoughtful. So it's been a role, it's just grown massively, and adding the personalisation has really helped. We now sell on Etsy as well, and our own website is now kind of about a third of our sales, which is brilliant for where we want to be, and growing all the time. So it's crazy to think how we've got to where we are, really, because it's just 2 years ago we moved out of the house into an office. 9 months after that, we moved into a bigger office, and now we have a team of 2 staff and other people who come in and help us at peak periods. So it's it's crazy when you kind of lay it all out like that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's such a great idea, and obviously it started with John's concept, and you were able to then bring your skills with the branding and marketing side and almost fuse them together. So it had a great platform to start with, and it only took, like you said, just a little bit of faith from Not on the High Street, and that gives you that foundation to start to build all the other aspects. And now, it's your brand that's pushing forward rather than those partnerships. But what are a few of the challenges that you really remember on that journey that you've managed to overcome?
I think it's one of them in particular is stock, and knowing kind of how much stock to buy. When we were in the house, it was obviously difficult because a box full of the boxes took up half the garage. So, I could only order up to maybe 500 boxes at a time. So you're not getting good unit rates. You're not getting a good price. You're not able to kind of, if suddenly there is a demand, if suddenly something happens and everyone wants one, you're at the will of the suppliers to when they can get you more boxes. Same with envelopes and the cards. So we now order in much bigger quantities to try and cover ourselves. I think every year at Valentine's Day, something's come along and surprised us, whether it's been we've rung the envelope company and they said, oh yeah, we haven't got any, we won't have any till April, or we've run out of blue or something, and one of the boxes is color coded, so we need the blue envelopes because that means something in the box. So to run out of blue envelopes is a disaster. So we now buy envelopes in 1 million at a time. Well, we've got 1 million envelopes in our office at the moment in various colors, so that doesn't happen ever. And again, with the boxes, we now manufacture our own boxes, so we're more in control of that process, and we're not at the will of, oh, well, we've run out, we won't have any for a few weeks, or China's locked down, we can't get the boxes out, just they'll be here when they're here kind of thing, which happened as well. So every time something like that happens, you realize that you need to take kind of a bit more control. So like I say, we now manufacture our own boxes. We buy the envelopes in bulk, but we are looking at other options around that as well. And everything that happens makes you think, oh, actually, we could do this a different way. So it's being able to be flexible and change and grow with demand. And if we went viral on TikTok the other week and we weren't expecting that, so suddenly it's all hands on deck because there's 200 orders on a Monday when normally there'd be 80. So it's just being able to be flexible and go, right, well, we'll not do that now, we'll just focus on this. That's definitely the thing that we've learned. And to kind of have an understanding of the finances as well, it's something that I've messed up on several occasions, hitting VAT thresholds and not realizing and not doing my accounting right. And even now, kind of, we're looking at shipping into the US and into Australia, and the amount of paperwork and things to go with that needs to be done right from the beginning. So we're learning to not rush into decisions. We're very good at kind of acting on our gut and going, that's a really good idea, let's do it. And taking that step back and saying, right, hang on, let's do it properly. It's more hassle than it's worth.
You almost learn to start opening your own little business envelopes on this journey instead of just jumping straight into it. And like you said, you just continue to improve your processes through the trends that you've seen, through the challenges that you've had. And obviously, that's an amazing learning journey in itself, where you're continuing to evolve. and really continuing to embed practice that is working and doing more of that. So what I want to kind of just dip into now as you come towards the end of the show is over the past 18 months, you've really managed to take a big step forward. Lockdown has been really challenging for many businesses, but I've seen you guys on this morning on the gift guide. That was a big one, and like you said, you've been viral on TikTok in the past few weeks, starting to really find that the reputation that you've built and this continual and gradual improving of your processes and reputation over time, it's really starting to pay off. So what have been some of the real highlights over this past 12 months, and what things are you starting to see that have really come to light?
I think for me, one of the highlights the last 12 months, I mean, we have been very lucky. We've grown. Obviously, everyone turned to online during lockdown and wanted to send things directly to people. So we were in a very lucky position that we worked throughout. We haven't stopped. I mean, we had the issue of homeschooling and a 5-year-old joining us in the office every day. That was fun. I don't want to do that again. But yeah, we had we have been in a very lucky position that we've grown. And I think one of the highlights for me has been taking on staff. Because before it was just me and John. John would print the boxes, I would be packing the boxes. So anything else to kind of grow the business happened after 8 p.m, kind of sitting on the sofa or on a weekend or whenever we got 5 minutes to actually have a conversation. But bringing staff in means that we can now take the time out, we can talk to people, we can possibly look at getting investment in the future, but we actually can have the conversations we need to be having to make sure the business grows. And in the same time, all the orders are still going out the door. And we've got a brilliant team. We've been so lucky with the staff that we've got. They're just so on it and so kind of passionate. They've got the same passion that we have for getting it right and getting stuff out. And it's just been amazing to see. We actually bought another business during lockdown as well called Bride to Be boxes. So we added to the range. And the girls get really behind that. They've really kind of come up with ideas, and John will see something online. He turned up yesterday with some water bottles, new coloured water bottles that he said, and they got really excited about what could go on them, the designs that they could be, how we could make them work, who we could sell them to, and it was just great to see the kind of the enthusiasm and the passion that they have for it as well. And it's just given us chance to take stock, to grow, to work out what our next steps are, because a lot of the time we'd never finish the conversation of what we're going to do next because we'd have to stop and print boxes and pack orders. So that's definitely been a highlight, seeing that team grow and giving us a bit of space to do the stuff that we need to do.
Yeah, no, and that's really powerful, because obviously it's allowed you to just step out of the day-to-day running and actually do some strategic planning and thinking about where you're going to take it in the future, and just having that time is really important. And I suppose at the same time, has having that time, the employees doing a lot of different tasks, allowed you to actually keep doing a year of dates yourselves?
I'd like to say yes. We finally opened the very last envelopes last year during lockdown, because in the original jar I ended up having about 75 in, because John would seal them and then think of something else. So the original year of dates was about 75 envelopes, and we finally finished it last year. But I mean, we try. We'll try and go and grab a coffee, or Tuesday afternoons our daughter does gymnastics, so we'll drop her off and we'll go and get a coffee somewhere and sit down and try and have that kind of time. But inevitably we end up talking about work and what's coming next and plans. But we do try. I mean, you don't have to leave the house to go on a date, so we will sometimes sit down. We'll get a board game out and go, right, phones down, not talking about work, and do something slightly different. And the people we get on Instagram, they inspire us to try new things as well. They're always coming up with different ways to interpret the cards, and so we'll suddenly say, oh well, they've done this, we could do that as well. And sometimes the date involves Phoebe as well, because she likes to get involved. So the dates can become a family affair sometimes as well. So we try, but we're probably not as true to the brand as we could be.
Well, there you go. That's a human admission that actually life gets in the way sometimes. We actually turn it from a date into a family date, and ultimately when running a business, you've got to actually be quite compassionate with yourself, because ultimately it's a lot of work to make it happen, to get that momentum. But what I want to know, Kate, Go on. Yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say it won't be like this forever. That's the kind of the other way we look at it is eventually we'll have all that time back, but we need to grow it to a certain point to be able to do that. So we're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, and all that family business element comes with its own little challenges.
I didn't understand.
But what I do want to ask, Kate, is for those people out there who have got almost like a little bit of a year of dates themselves that they're creating and probably having it as a little bit of a hobby, and they're starting to think there might be a place in the market for this, what little tips would you give them to maybe start and try out and see, what might work for them?
I think I'd say definitely like start small. Like I say, we bought 100 boxes, which wasn't the most cost effective, but I didn't want to be left with lots of things. So I'd say start small if you can. Don't kind of invest too much up front. Sell what you've got and then kind of take it from there. Our entire business has grown on sales from Valentine's Day, fund the design and the print of the next boxes, and that's kind of how it's always been. So if you believe in it, then definitely go for it, but don't kind of blind yourself by thinking this is it, this is going to be perfect, and kind of end up getting into a lot of debt or creating a situation that isn't for, and be prepared to change if it doesn't work, or if tweaking it slightly how you didn't imagine works better, then don't be afraid to change and grow with the idea, because it won't always be the first thing that works. It could be the second or third, but if you don't try them, you won't know.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And obviously there's a lot out there about, owning a business and you should go out there and go all in. But, for you and John, you were working part-time alongside it as it was winning awards. John was working full-time until he came on board a few years back. And, that kind of working alongside and building that business is something that a lot of people, I suppose in the modern world of, well, I've just got to go and, build my business and forget about working for other people because that's not as trendy as it once was. But actually, for you guys, you made sure it was all sustainable all the way through, and have now got to that point where you've been able to, really fully devote to it, push it forward, and now take employees on. So having seen that journey and, ultimately seeing it and thinking you've done so well through everything that you've been through, and really kind of built it now to a point where you're getting a lot in through your own website, your own social presence has grown, and you're getting into the places where you need to be to really push it forward. What's coming in the future for yourself, Kate, and for a year of dates?
Well, for me, we've got summer holidays coming up, so for me, short term, it's kind of the juggle of getting through 6 weeks of that. Hopefully with a foreign holiday at the end of the day, but at the end of the 6 weeks, but we'll keep our fingers crossed for that one. I think for me, it's kind of watching the team grow and watching people enjoy the products is still kind of the joy I get out of it. I'd like to be able to help more small businesses, and that's something we've talked about a lot, like the people you talk about who maybe have this small business. If I can get out there and kind of tell people what I've done, that's something that I'd like to do personally in the future. For a year of dates, it's very much world domination. We've got boxes in America now, so we have a fulfillment center over there. So if anyone in America orders, the lead time is now 3 days rather than 3 weeks, and getting stuck at customs and disappearing, which happens a lot. And we are in talks with companies in Australia and Canada to do the same. Europe's been a bit of an issue this year, but hopefully that's back on as of today. Hopefully that's back being a more viable place as well for us to send orders to. So yeah, just getting the word out there, getting the boxes far and wide so that people can get them quicker and cheaper. And hopefully that will involve a trip to a few places for us as well, a bit of a business trip to America, Australia, we can dream.
Perks of business ownership, Kate, and you know what, we're going to go out and we're going to check the quality at our fulfillment centres, and we're going to make some new supply relationships, and then we're going to go for some food and execute on a few of those, really expansive dates that we had written down.
So up to New York for dinner.
Oh yeah, why not? Why not? And
Well,
obviously we're at the end of the show now, Kate, and I want to really thank you for sharing your story. And it's, it's very inspirational. And obviously it's great to see that, an idea and a concept has been, taken forward into a viable business that is now looking to dominate the world. And there's only one thing left that I want to ask you, Kate. In your initial year of dates jar, what is the one date that when you opened it, you looked at it and you thought, oh, do I have to do that? Jeez.
Oh, that's a really good question. I'll have to get thinking. I think there was a couple. There's been quite a few where it said Kate makes breakfast in bed for John. Kate cooks a candlelit dinner for John, and along those lines. And apparently in there somewhere were John cooks a candlelit dinner and John makes breakfast in bed, but I'm not entirely sure they ever appeared. So there was quite a few where, I was tasked to do things, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was reciprocated. So they're the ones that stand out. But making breakfast in bed happened at least twice, I think, in there. So
well, I am sure that the boxes that you now create are very inclusive and ensure that everyone gets to do something a little bit, out there and a little bit outside their own comfort zone as well, because that's always good for us.
Definitely.
So, Kate, I want to thank you for coming on again, and I want to thank everyone who's tuned in today. And ultimately, building a business, it's not easy. It comes with challenges. For a lot of us, we've built businesses while working alongside it to get it to a point where it's become viable to take off on its own. Don't always believe the hype that you need to, grind and hustle your way to being in debt and not having any finance to push your idea forward just because they've told you that working for other people is bad. Go out and be your own boss. Because as soon as you go out and become your own boss, you're bossed by your suppliers, your customers, anyone who's invested in you, your own family, your own time. And ultimately, you do end up with a few more managers of you than you would have if you worked in an organization. But yeah, it's been lovely to have you on, Kate. Thank you for everyone for tuning in, and thank you for sharing your story. And are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave everyone today?
Oh no, I think that was just thanks for having me. It's always great to chat, and like I say, you don't often get a chance to sit and look back at where you've come from and look at the whole story. So it's always good to get the opportunity to kind of, for me, just to reflect and be like, wow, yeah, we have done a lot. Actually, it might feel like for the last few days I've not achieved much, but actually the bigger picture is we've achieved a lot. So thanks for giving me the opportunity.
One final thing, Kate, where can we find you to get a box for ourselves?
www.ayearofdates.co.uk.
And any social platforms we can see your amazing boxes on?
Yep, we've just hit 10,000 followers on Instagram this week, so that's been an achievement. It's been a goal of mine for a while, so we've got the famous swipe up now. Again, at A Year of Dates on there. Facebook is A Year of Dates as well. And generally, if you Google it or use any search engine, then you'll find us quite easily.
Super. So I'd suggest if you've got any big events coming up, Valentine's might have gone, but there's some lovely summery vibing ones going on that you can start to look at. Maybe any birthdays out towards the end of the year. Forget the perfume. Got too many bottles of that. Another pair of earrings. Nah. Some more socks. Get a box. Come on, guys. Okay, so yeah. It's been amazing to have Kate on. And again, I want to thank everyone who's tuned into the Self-Aware Entrepreneur Show today. Apologies we were late, but I am absolutely sure this episode has made up for that. So we'll be back again on Monday with another amazing guest. And thank you once again to Kate for joining me and for you for joining us on your Thursday afternoon.